This is part 2 of my reacting to comments video. I decided to do the second half on Patreon, but if you haven't seen the first half, I'm going to put it on Patreon as well, so it'll be summer. We're going through the second half of the comments, and I haven't seen a lot of these. The first kind of comments I read through a little bit, but these comments are going to be new to me just as much as they are to you. So let's get started. I'm not sure wind and solar are as abundant, predictable, and cheap as you think. Germany, for example, used its nuclear power stations years back and had to reopen a few coal power plants as a result of the shortage. If anything, France, with its 73% of its electricity from nuclear, is far cleaner. You are also not considering all the rare earth minerals and highly toxic chemicals needed for solar panels and batteries for when the sun isn't shining. Lastly, if you deny people in the world access to cheap energy, you're stopping the progress and reducing the quality of life for third world countries that heavily rely on it. Your argument is missing a lot of data. So the thing that frustrates me about this comment is I talked about these things in this video. I'm pretty sure this is from my Jordan Peterson video, and I literally talked about how I think nuclear is really important for a sustainable energy future because it's very clean, it's very safe, if people just stop thinking about the absolute worst case scenario, it's very safe, and also like it says, France does have a lot of nuclear, but they're also very against it, similar to how it's viewed in the US. And so I did touch on that. And also, yeah, the part about solar panels and even electric cars that's really problematic is the use of rare minerals, especially like I mentioned earlier, I'm Congolese, and the mining industry in Congo is so exploitative, and it's just really sad to see. I'm going to link, I saw this post on Instagram, if I can find it I'll share it here, but it was basically talking about the kinds of minerals that are exploited, and the working conditions in these mines is just so sad, and I wish more people kind of understood where these minerals are coming from, and the kinds of lengths that these companies go through to be able to do it at the cheapest way possible so they can profit off of people dying. We love that. And then also for the last part, I literally mentioned in this video multiple times that it's important to not have a one-size-fits-all approach because not all countries do have the money to invest in nuclear. I mentioned that, and I think it's important for more developed countries to provide the money for smaller countries to be able to invest in clean energy, especially since y'all profited off of the exploitation not even that long ago to begin with. So it's important for more richer countries to help smaller countries monetarily, but also to not put as much pressure on them because they do not have the kinds of money to be able to invest as much. So I mentioned that in the video. So I'm gonna put this in F for effort because if this person watched the video, they would understand that I touched on both of these things, and I just hate when people comment things that are in the video. Just watch the video. Oh look, a YouTuber disagreeing with the professor, and probably one of the smartest people around right now. Once again, I don't understand what it is with people trying to can we not have multiple people talking about the same issues? Goddamn. And some people actually, I'm gonna put it on the screen, but some people replied to this comment saying oh, that's literally just an appeal to authority. He's not even a climate anything. Yes, he's a professor, but in psychology or something like that. He's not a scientist. So what would me disagreeing with him have anything to do with him being a professor? There's so many different kinds of professors that him saying that I disagreed with the professor just makes no sense, because what if he was an economics professor and I was disagreeing with him once again on climate science? What would him being an economics professor have anything to do with his knowledge on climate change? Nothing. Exactly. So I'm going to put this one in head empty no thoughts because this person also clearly does not think. Please, people, use your noggins. Just go buy some brain salt if you need to. Next. Poor people don't have an impact on the environment. LOL, have you been to slums in Africa and seen the open sewers and garbage in rivers, in the villages, the cutting down of trees or wood? Do you still believe poor people don't have an effect on the environment? There's two things that kind of that I want to touch on. Number one is kind of our obsession with what we see. So when it comes to, for example, the zero waste movement, it's always like physical waste, like plastic or compost, like physical things that you see, and that's what we think of when we think of like sustainability and unsustainability and impact. Whereas driving a car has a much bigger impact than taking public transportation. So if two people have the same lifestyles but one drives and one doesn't, the person who drives is going to have like a 10 times worse impact on the planet. Same with like people who travel a lot and fly to a lot of different places. Same with someone who has a bigger home. Like there are other ways that you can have an impact that are way more, they basically weigh more when it comes to the total impact than something physical that you can see with your eyes. So this person is trying to say that Africans are more unsustainable because of the slums and the kind of dirty conditions. Once again, this goes back to racism and the way that we think about African countries as being very primitive and very dirty and all that kind of stuff. There are places in the United States of America, the good old US of A, where you would think it was in a developing country. I watched a video earlier today on Skid Row, and it's like, are we not seeing this? Like, I'm confused. It's just crazy that we have this idea of Africa, and it's like that same shit is happening in the US. And what's the excuse for America? We're the richest country in the world, yet we can't feed our own people? Like, come on. Like, just don't come for me like that. And also, this person clearly, like, I don't get when people don't counter your argument with actual facts and statistics or something, because I showed you a study that showed how people in developing countries have a much bigger impact. You can like debate the numbers, but it's clear and it's evident and there's no debating it. And this person is like, oh, but Africans are dirty, therefore they have a bigger impact. And it's like, where are the facts though? I'm confused. Like, I'm gonna put this person in, I think, COVID in human form because I feel offended. Not personally, but it's just a little racist, a little colonizer bullshit kind of situation. Like, come on. And also, if someone liked it. What? Oh, but they had 7 comments. I wish I would have looked at the replies, though. It really is, though. I'm going to read through and then tell you what they meant. It really is, though. Scientists are being bought to give PR opinions, non-peer-reviewed, and often owned by big companies with less scientific approach, with the goal being group profit and not world knowledge. Also, scientists don't agree on interpretation of data, but the raw data is often represented by the media in a way that controls how the data is interpreted by the viewers and what data does or doesn't make the headline. Sorry, but after the ignorant "let me be smarter than the smart guy" intro, I'm done watching. So this person just straight up admitted they did not watch the video. Wait, what did I say at the beginning that offended them?
Voici une box HelloFresh. Cuisinez ses ingrédients. Un délicieux repas.
Hey guys, first have you seen? Welcome back to my channel. Let's get back to why Jordan Peterson is wrong about climate change, or an alternate title: conservatives don't understand climate change and should shut the fuck up. I stand by that intro. Probably one of my favorite intros to any video, period. Oh, okay, so this person is basically trying to say that scientists can be bought out. And I think in the video maybe I made it like clear, like, oh my god, scientists are never corrupt, which obviously is not true. There's doctors that are corrupt. There's all professions probably have people that are corrupt and stuff. But the thing is, what I was trying to say is that the scientific consensus can be trusted in this situation, because when it comes to climate change, the people who ended up lying about it are the people who don't want it to happen. What is the only way you can be corrupt about something is if you have something to gain from something being true. But what does anyone have to gain from climate change being true? Exactly, like, you have nothing to gain from climate change being true, so that doesn't really give a reason for any scientist to lie about climate change and risk losing their whole life work because they lied and said climate change was true. But the opposite has been true, where someone like Shell, the Shell Corporation, or ExxonMobil, they paid scientists to research climate change, and what did the scientists find? climate change is true, and then they just bury the information. So if you have someone like an oil company basically agreeing with the fact that climate change is true and then hiding it, why would you not believe that climate change is true? Why would they, if they would have studied it and then found that climate change is not true, wouldn't they have just come out and said, oh, climate change isn't true and we need to move on? Like, there's just no incentive. And oftentimes when you're talking to commenters like this, like, they will put out claims, but it's like everything has a reason. Like, why would you do something with no reason? Like, it doesn't happen like that in the real world, especially with something as big as climate change. Like, maybe I'll put in F for effort because they're wrong, but I can tell from this that they at least thought of something. But I'm also kind of disappointed they didn't watch the video once again. Like, come on, guys, just watch the damn video. It's not that long. So, next one. This one's also a little bit long. Political correctness is fascism pretending to be manners. George Carlin. Political correctness is Africa's newest... I still have all these African comments still swirling around. Political correctness is America's newest form of intolerance, and it is especially pernicious because it's disguised as tolerance. It presents itself as fairness, yet attempts to restrict and control people's language with strict codes and rigid rules. I'm not sure that's the way to fight discrimination. I'm not sure silencing people or forcing them to alter their speech is the best method for solving problems that go back deeper than speech. George Carlin. When will Jesus bring the fourth child? Are you as confused as I am by this comment? It was like going in one direction and they just copied and pasted a whole quote and then didn't give any context. And the quote doesn't give any context to what they mean. Are they saying I'm a PC, like a political correct person? Because I'd say no. I'm not like super into political correctness because I think there's more things that we can be fighting for other than... Okay, so I'm just going to touch on political correctness for a bit. I hate the kind of idea of political correctness because it basically demonizes people literally just fighting for equality. Like if I say, oh, we should use people's preferred genders, someone will be like, oh, you're just being politically correct. And it's like, no, I'm trying to literally just allow people to be able to be comfortable in their own skin. Like if I say, oh, we shouldn't use the N-word, like, oh, you're just being politically correct. It's like, no, I'm trying not to be a racist piece of shit. Like, I hate, like, when people go against political correctness. That's why I don't really like the idea of political correctness, because people just use that as, like, people just use that as a reason, like, to be mean. They'll be like, oh, I'm not PC. I say the N-word. Like, oh, I'm not PC. I say it as it is. And it's like, if what you're saying is racist, homophobic, sexist, or whatever, that has nothing to do with being PC. You're just a piece of shit. It also goes back to cancel culture, because oftentimes people will do something racist and then they'll be canceled. It doesn't usually work out. And then people will be like, oh my god, cancel culture is the worst. And it's like, but they were being racist. Like, I'm confused. And I think it's because we overuse it and we go too far. So if we're canceling people who have already apologized, people who aren't causing any harm, people who aren't racist, if we're like canceling everyone for every little thing, then of course people are going to weaponize cancel culture to protect people who are actually harming other people. And if we're just being super overly political correct and being like, I think the biggest one is like Latinx, like where a lot of people who are Latina don't even use it, and it was started by, I don't know who started it, but it's not something that people who speak Spanish use, and it's like something English speakers started. Or the Womexin, where transgender women weren't saying, oh my god, you need to put an X so that we can feel included. Like, so that's why these kinds of things are really complicated, because political correctness sometimes is literally just being a decent human being, but certain people have just kind of demonized that kind of term or that kind of idea, and they kind of hide behind the mask of, oh, I just say it as it is, to just be horrible people. So I don't know what this whole comment was supposed to mean. I'm just going to say I lost brain cells, because what are you trying to say? He didn't say anything. He just left a quote from somewhere. Nothing matters until China gets on board. The thing is, China is actually trying. So when will the US? Like, I just think this kind of mentality is so dumb too when it comes to climate change, because like, yes, China is huge and it's important for China to also do their part, but what if China is also staying there going, well, we're not going to do anything until the United States starts doing something? And I'm pretty sure the US also has a worse impact than China, so shouldn't we start? It's just, I just think it's a dumb idea, and I'm going to put it in head empty no thoughts because it makes no sense. Like, it's just dumb, this idea of like, oh, we can't start until the other person starts. Are you an Ice Age denier? I think I lost brain cells. What do you mean am I an Ice Age denier? I think this is basically when people kind of say, oh, well, the climate is always changing, so like, this is normal. And if you look at the numbers and you look at the charts, it doesn't look normal to me. So, no, I'm not an Ice Age denier, but I think you should get your... Go buy some more brain cells, man, or sir, or however you want. Next, I can justify eating... Oh, this was from my video on veganism, by the way. I can justify eating animal products. It's to achieve good health. I feed cooked chicken to my 2 cats for the same reason. They love it. So I don't want to get like, I don't want to drop too many hot takes in one video, but you can't justify eating animals just because your cat eats it. In fact, I saw this one Instagram reel, and it was basically just like how it's weird that you can have a vet, aka someone who cares for animals, who also eats meat. And I think it's the same with like people who have pets who eat meat. Like, chickens can be pets too, so why are you cooking a chicken? But so my thoughts when it comes to animal products is, I don't think I see anything inherently wrong with eating animal products, especially since there are certain situations where it would be perfectly permissible. For example, if you're lost in the middle of the woods and you have to eat something, then yeah, eat some bugs, eat a squirrel. Like, I don't see anything wrong with that to survive. But as it is right now, I don't live in the US right now, but living in France, like, I don't have to eat animal products to survive. And obviously you can have the conversation on access and like on like accessibility and everything like that, and yeah, let's have that conversation. But I'd say the majority of people at least can go vegetarian and stop, like, usually picking up meat products like chicken, eggs, milk, things like that. That's a deliberate action. You're picking this up and you know that it's just straight up animal products, but you're picking it up just because you want to eat it and drink it. But it can become a little bit harder when you're looking into things like, let's say, a pasta mix or cake or something like that. That's when it can kind of get a little bit more difficult. We can definitely have a deeper conversation on like the accessibility of like veganism and vegetarianism, but I think most people can at least cut out like eating straight up meat. And the reason that I think it's wrong for people to eat meat when they don't need to survive is that they are sentient beings, and especially with the animal agriculture, the whole system is so disgusting. I cannot tell you how. I have to walk by 2 butchers on my way to the grocery store. I always forget. I always cross the street and then go down, when I could just go down and then cross the street. And I always just forget, and I cross the street and I have to pass by 2 butchers, and just like seeing the chickens turning, it does not make me, it's not appetizing to me anymore. However, I don't see anything inherently wrong with eating animal products, which is why I'm perfectly fine like eating like Beyond sausage. That shit is so good. So delicious. And I didn't even eat sausage before going vegan that much, but it's so good with pasta. Eating like fake chicken, tofu, things that are like, and like fake cheese, things like that. Like, I don't see anything wrong with that. I know there's some vegans that are like, oh, just the fact that you're like imitating eating an animal is wrong, but I don't know. I think that's just too far. But I think participating in the animal agriculture industry is just really problematic, and there is no way to justify it. And the whole health angle is so dumb, because studies have shown that a plant-based diet is enough to sustain yourself. And so anyone who says otherwise, like, either you have really niche specific health / dietary needs, which go see a dietitian. Like, even if you're not going to be like plant-based, like if going vegan does something weird with your body, then you might want to see a doctor, because apparently most people are lactose intolerant anyways. So like these animal products aren't meant for us. Like cow's milk was not meant for humans, and so yeah, you can't justify eating meat for the health angle, because that's just not worth it. That's my hot take of the day. Please don't cancel me. I'm going to put this in, I don't know, I think I lost brain cells, because once again, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, you can be perfectly healthy while eating vegan, and especially like the whole, because you feed it to your cat. Are you a cat? Like, and I think there are some pets that can't survive without eating like animal products, because some animals are carnivores, like dogs. Some dogs I think are. So like, also those vegans that are like, oh, you can't feed your animals meat. It's like, well, if that's what the animal is supposed to eat, what are you supposed to do? Like, I guess this wouldn't do any good in the 228,796 homeless Black Americans, would it? Then again, there are 280,612 homeless white Americans. White privilege. You feel good about yourself? Once again, the punctuation just doesn't make any sense, and I'm very confused with like how they formatted this. This comment is just so like pointless that I don't even know where the context of this is, and I only picked up comments from like 3 different videos. Oh, okay, so I made a video on sustainable clothing, sustainable brands. Okay, yeah, so that's where this is from. So it's the context of sustainable fashion. I don't get why you would bring up homelessness in a video about, like, okay, so here's why, another hot take. I really find it like kind of rude when, especially like people who have money, richer people, like someone who's middle class, like oftentimes you'll be like, oh, you shouldn't support fast fashion, and you'll be like, oh, but some people can't afford sustainable clothing brands, and it's like, can you? Like, that's the question. Like, yes, once again, like we can have the conversations on accessibility, but also if you're able to afford sustainable fashion, then why is that your argument for supporting fast fashion? Like, you know, like mentally, it's like it's kind of like some cognitive dissonance. It's like, it kind of be like if your gym teacher was like, you have to run the mile, and you'd be like, I can't run the mile because some people are in wheelchairs, and it's like, yes, but you aren't, so run the mile. Like, I just think this kind of idea of like, oh, some people can't afford some people can't afford sustainable fashion, so therefore I can shop fast fashion, doesn't make any sense. Like, obviously, if you can't afford it, then it's all good. There's always thrifting. That's always a great idea, especially like online thrifting, and there's a lot of stores for that. And if at the end of the day you just can't afford sustainable clothing brands, one, you might not need to buy new clothes anyways, but if you do, go to fast fashion. You're all good if that's all you can afford and you do need new clothing. This doesn't excuse and I made a whole video on this, but this doesn't excuse people who have money buying like $500 worth of fast fashion. You know, like you can't pick a struggle. Also, like this whole thing with like white privilege, I'm confused as to what this has to do. Also, I don't know where they got this numbers from, but I don't think they're actually that close. And if that's true, that's really sad that 280,000 white people and then 228,000 Black people, if you look at the proportions, that's really sad. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if those were the numbers. But where do I put this guy? We're gonna put you in lost brain cells, because what happened to global warming in Texas? This was a really fun one to end on. I'm just gonna put it straight into, I think I lost brain cells, because I think I lost brain cells. This argument just will never make sense to me as to why people think this is really intelligent. The fact that you can think, oh, it's snowing, so therefore global warming doesn't exist, means you don't actually understand what you're talking about. I'm gonna need you to shut up. So that was the end of this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed this 2-part series. Once again, thank you Patreon people for coming through and supporting my channel. I really appreciate it. And if you watch the other video, you can kind of understand, like, I've been very discouraged recently with making YouTube videos, and just the fact that you're supporting my channel in this extra special way means a lot to me, and I really appreciate that. That being said, that's it for this video.